This fight didn't arrive with hype. It arrived with questions. Sarukhanyan Vage stepped into the ring carrying the weight of inactivity, muscle-bound experience, and a career that had paused more than it had progressed. 21 wins, 4 losses, but years lost to silence. Across from him stood Nurtas Azhbenov, the Southpaw from Kazakhstan, quieter in presence, cleaner in execution, and far more comfortable living inside the subtleties of the ring. On paper, it looked simple, strength versus skill. In reality, it was far more fragile than that. These are the fights where careers don't explode, they quietly bend. 6 rounds, no room to download data for long, no championship packing, just immediate problem-solving under pressure. From the opening bell, Azhbenov made it clear this would be fought on his terms. He didn't rush, he didn't force. He edged forward with intent, feinting with his feet, showing Sarukhanyan just enough to keep him guessing. Sarukhanyan looked powerful, carved from stone, but power without rhythm is just tension. Every movement from him felt loaded, as if he were waiting for the perfect opening rather than creating one. That hesitation mattered, because in professional boxing, especially against a southpaw technician, seconds of uncertainty turn into lost rounds. The crowd didn't gasp. No shots landed clean enough to shock the arena, but something else was happening. Control was being established. And control, in fights like this, is far more dangerous than damage. The first 2 rounds belonged not to power, but to placement. Azhbenov didn't dominate Sarukhanyan, he outmaneuvered him. Every step forward came with a question attached, every feint forcing Sarukhanyan to reset his feet, his guard, his intentions. The southpaw left hand slipped in quietly, not with force but with clarity. Judges love clarity. Sarukhanyan's right hand hovered constantly, cocked and ready, but rarely released with commitment. He looked physically superior, undeniably so, yet strangely reactive. The fight kept slipping out of his hands without ever exploding away from him. This is the danger zone for pressure fighters, when nothing feels wrong, yet nothing feels right. Azhbenov's shots weren't hurting him, but they were shaping him, forcing him backward, turning him, making him reach. And when Sarukhanyan reached, Azhbenov was already gone. It was efficient, almost calm. The kind of boxing that frustrates muscle, that drains confidence more than energy. From the outside, it looked close. From the inside, it felt like a trap slowly tightening. Sarukhanyan had moments, short right hands, body taps, glimpses of success, but moments don't win rounds when the other man owns the space between exchanges. By the end of the second, the fight had a quiet rhythm. Azhbenov initiating, Sarukhanyan responding. And in boxing, responding is losing unless something changes. Round 3 didn't announce a turnaround, it whispered one. Sarukhanyan began letting his hands go without waiting for permission. Not recklessly, not wildly, just enough to disrupt the flow that Azhbenov had grown comfortable controlling. The right hand started going to the body, not to hurt but to remind. Each step forward now carried intent instead of doubt. Azhbenov still looked cleaner, still technically sharper, but the exchanges were changing shape. Where he once dictated distance freely, he now had to account for presence. That matters, because technicians thrive on predictability. Pressure introduces chaos. Sarukhanyan stopped chasing the perfect punch and started winning territory. The shots weren't dramatic. They didn't snap heads back or drop knees, but they accumulated. And accumulation changes posture, breathing, decision-making. Azhbenov was still composed, still organized, but no longer entirely comfortable. The fight was becoming work. This is where experience whispers louder than speed. Sarukhanyan didn't panic. He didn't overreach. He simply stayed close, stayed busy, stayed present. The crowd felt it before they saw it. Momentum doesn't arrive loudly, it settles. And by the end of the third, the question had changed. It was no longer whether Sarukhanyan could land. It was whether Azhbenov could keep him off for 3 more rounds. Rounds 4 and 5 became a negotiation. Azhbenov tried to reassert control, stepping forward more, throwing first, attempting to remind Sarukhanyan who owned the early narrative. But the rhythm had shifted. Sarukhanyan's punches were easier to see, and that matters to judges. Combinations replaced singles. Body shots softened the edges of movement. The fight tightened. Neither man was hurt, but both were being tested. This is where technicians must add gears, and Azhbenov didn't. He stayed tight, he stayed correct, but stayed the same. Sarukhanyan, meanwhile, grew louder with his presence. Each exchange ended closer to center ring. Each round ended with him walking forward. It wasn't dominance, it was insistence. And in close fights, insistence is persuasive. Blood appeared near the eye, sweat flew. Still no drama, just consequence. The kind of rounds that look uneventful until the scorecards arrive. Azhbenov's work remained sharp, but Sarukhanyan's was heavier, more visible, more assertive. This is where judges start leaning, not because one man is better, but because one man is asking more questions. Final round answered everything. Sarukhanyan didn't retreat into caution. He stepped forward with belief. Combinations landed clean. Hooks wrapped around guards. Body shots punctuated exchanges. Azhbenov responded, but without change, without urgency. The fight slipped from technical exercise into competitive reality. Sarukhanyan looked like the man trying to win, not just survive, and that perception sealed it. When the bell rang, there was no celebration, no collapse, no certainty, just quiet confidence from the fighter who finished stronger. The decision came as it should have, unanimous but earned. not through violence but through adjustment. This fight wasn't about who hit harder, it was about who learned faster. Sarukhanyan solved the problem before time ran out, and in boxing, that's often the most dangerous victory of all.